Hey guys, Hiragi here with another leader from OP09. This time it's Lim. Lim is the second leader that I really started focusing on after PB Luffy. Once Gecko Moria got banned, I was kind of lost, wasn't really sure where to go. And with this leader getting a lot of support in OP10, it's one that caught my eye. And then eventually it went on to win the London Regionals with a list a little bit different from what I was running, but it's one that I went ahead and copied and saw a lot of success with, winning my first stored tournaments, placing top 64s, top 32s in a lot of tournaments, eventually taking that to the three captains battle up in Dallas a few months back. And it's one of my favorite leaders. It's one that I really enjoy. And if you're here, hopefully you enjoy it as well. So just kind of to go through the list here, it got a lot of support in OP13 with the Shanks, that restands 10 Dawn, and then the Sanji that restands 2 Dawn on play. These two are super valuable cards. The Shanks lets you kind of work as a closer for the deck that it didn't really have before, while still maintaining the same aggression you had prior. The only downside with the Shanks is that once you play it out and restand your Dawn, is that you can't play cards out from your hand, but with the Lim leader ability, that's not a problem. You're still able to play a card out from that. But anything else you wanted to play out, say like a Gordon, another Mihawk, any event cards, those won't work. So just something to keep in mind there. But going through the list, you have 12 2Ks. You have the Nami that freezes a Dawn. This can be super valuable to stop an Ace turn. Ahead of that 8 Dawn turn, Emu coming up on 9, maybe not as big of an impact there. You have Gordon here. This is just something that gets searched through the Buena Festa. It's another 2K for when you don't find your Lim here. And then your standard audio, another 2K and a body you can play out in case of emergency. So really for Lim, your goal is to play as many bodies as possible early on and go as wide as possible. Just keep poking out swings, and especially now with that 10 cost Shanks, that's easier than ever. You can keep playing out those bodies, and then you can swing big with every single one of those to try to close out the game. So general strategy, ideally you want to find your 1 cost Lim here. This one lets you restand an Odyssey character at the end of your turn, and it's also able to protect itself by resting an Odyssey character if it's going to be removed from the field. But again, if you don't see that one, not a problem. You can still play out your Gordon. This lets you restand 2 Dawn at the end of your turn, and maybe that's useful in endgame situations. But for the most part, this is just going to be a 2K or a alternative to the Lim. And then your last one is Buena Festa. This lets you search a few of the new additions to the deck here, with the Shanks being Film, the Sanji, and then the Gordon. Again, another 2K in case these don't hit. Nami, we just talked about, letting you freeze a Dawn. It's another 2K, your standard Lim Searcher. Audio. Sabo's the one you really want to see early. That lets you keep drawing cards if there's 3 or more rested characters. Your Doflamingo blocker. Newgate's really nice in situations where you might be trying to close out the game. Say you need to rest a blocker from Emu or Ace. This lets you do that without necessarily clearing it out. You have your Nell to keep cycling cards, finding what you need to close out. The Mihawk is also a great closer, letting you restand a character as long as it's an Odyssey type, so you can swing big, play the Mihawk, swing big again, and just maintain pressure that way. Sanji we've talked about here, letting you restand 2 Dawn, so early on you can play out a 7K body and then another 6K body with your leader effects. Shanks we talked about, Buena Festa we talked about as well. It's another spot 1 cost if you don't find that Lim, and it's a 2K. You have your Dead Man's Game here, letting you rest 2 characters or Dawn. Super valuable when you're playing against your Emus that play the 2 blockers, Ace with a bunch of those 12K Newgates. Hell's Judgment is good for protection, especially against Zoro. And then the slow beam sword, letting you rest one of your opponent's character while also being a 2K. So few additions that used to be in this deck that aren't anymore. Biggest one I think would be Sakazuki. With Emu being so prevalent in the meta, I don't think he's as useful now, but that may change in the future. Another one that I've been seeing people run, but I haven't had a chance to test myself, is the 9 cost audio. That lets you restand 3 Dawn on play, and it also lets you rest a Dawn to give 2k power when your opponent's attacking. Just another big body alternative to Shanks, especially when you're not getting that turn 2 curve. This might be an option you want to flex in. Not one that I've tested a lot yet, like I said, but might still be good. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get right into some of these matchups. First matchup we have here is against Zoro, King of OP12, but still one of the top 3 leaders in OP13 and definitely a force to be reckoned with. So goal for Lim here is to just deny curve from the big 3. In this case, we want to take first from Zoro, denying him to Shigi on 5, and letting us play out the 1-cost Lim pretty comfortably. I think the only thing I would have liked to see at this starting hand was either a Sanji or the Shanks from OP13, or the Sabo that lets you draw 1 when there's 3 or more rested. But overall, as long as you find that 1-cost Lim and something to play out the turn afterwards, you're pretty happy. So we go ahead and do that. Pass. Our opponent plays Perona. Not sure what he's looking for here. A lot to think about. Totally fine. And finds a Kuina, so likely looking to clear out our 1-cost Lim. We know she is not long for the world, so I think the plan in my head was if he rests it, he's going to swing with the Perona. So I play out the Doflamingo blocker. Does play out the Kuina. Rests a 4 or less, so he rests that Lim. He swings 8 into it, in which case I'll just give it up, that's fine. Then he swings 8. Goal here for Lim in the matchup is to just get as wide as possible, protecting our board as much as we can. And then with our new endgame with the Shanks is just have as many swings as possible late game. Right now, pretty standard Lim gameplay. 3-cost Lim into a 5-cost Odyssey character. I think in this case it will be the Enel. Is because we're pretty light on 2Ks in hand. We're looking again for that Sanji or the Shanks. And here we pitch the Mihawk and the Newgate. I think in hindsight, I would have rather pitched the second Doflamingo blocker. I think in my head, I do value the blocker a lot in this matchup. So I think that was the logic, but I think just having the second restand is super valuable. He just goes ahead and swings 6 to lead. I go ahead and take. Again, biggest thing here is to make sure we have as wide of a board as possible, and if we give up cards for life, it makes it a little bit harder to defend the cards we have played out, so we go ahead and take that. Go down to 2 life. We have a bunch of 2Ks in hand. We have Hell's Judgment, so we're pretty comfortable here. Go ahead and swing 8, try to clear out that Cavendish, or if he gives us cards, that works as well. In this case, he goes ahead and gives it up. Swing another 5 to leader. Gives us a second Cavendish. Swing another 5. And then again, that's the whole point of the matchup, right? Is you play as many bodies as you can, try to deny anything you can from him, just maintaining pressure, poking him out. In this case, we want to leave at least 2 active for the Hell's Judgment. We play out the Searcher, find Shanks, which is great. We know exactly what we're doing next turn. And then here, I could either play a second blocker, I could play the Enel, or I could play the Sabo. I think in my head, knowing that Hell's Judgment is up and being pretty happy with the cards we have in hand, I go ahead and play out that Sabo. We already have at least 1 blocker. If he rests 1, that's fine. But more likely than not, we're able to defend all 4 of these characters, except obviously the Buenafesta. And then we'll be set up and ready to go for the next turn. So here my opponent swings 6 to lead. I go ahead and use Hell's Judgment. Not the greatest value, but still pretty good here, bringing him down to a 2k lead. We know he found the Tashigi earlier, so likely to play that. Plays out the Law, so he gets extra value from that. Bounces a Perona. Plays that to Shigi, rests the blocker. Then he has a bit of a misplay here, ends up swinging 5 accidentally into the Sabo. Ends up surrendering after that, but I think regardless, we would have been set up to take this, playing the Shanks the next turn. Swinging what probably would have been 7-7, 5-7, 9-9. If for some reason that doesn't win the game, we'd still be pretty comfortable having that blocker up and a bunch of 2Ks in hand, and we'd be good to go. So that's it for this one. Let's go on to the next matchup. Okay, so we have our next matchup here against Emu, one of the big three from OP13. Here, ideally for us, we want to take their curve by going second. They end up taking first, or rather, we end up going first here, which is still fine, still pretty winnable. We end up not finding our 1-cost Lim in our starting hand, but we do have a great setup here with the 5-cost Sanji. We have the next best thing with the Buenafesta, letting us find it. And then we have the 3-cost Slim. We have the Mihawk. Hopefully we see another Odyssey character to play out. We do. With the Doflamingo blocker. Here for Lim, what you want to do is just maintain pressure very early on as much as possible while Emu is at his weakest. Once he starts playing out those 5 Elders, it does get a little bit tougher, in which case you would need to find the Dead Man's Game to rest. Hopefully your board is wide enough at that point. But still plenty of pressure early on that it is still a pretty winnable matchup. Here he swings into the Buenafesta. I don't really feel like protecting it. Maybe there's an argument that I could, in case he plays out a Shirahoshi, for example, so that I can swing into it. But for now, we're okay to proceed. He does a bunch of searches, throws away a bunch of things. Then he passes from there. So we did find that Sanji earlier, definitely going to get played out this turn. And then from there, we want to find or start looking for the 10-cost Shanks so that we can play that out. Here, just some smaller pokes. Here ends up taking the life with the 6K swing. Now we play out the Enel, trying to find the Shanks. We do end up finding it. Now that we have that in hand, and we've played out the Sanji, I think the Lim is a little bit too slow to play out at this point. Go ahead and pass with 3 bodies on the field. We know one of them is likely to go away with Saint Mars coming out, but that just means we have to make sure we protect the other 2 to make sure we're as wide as possible once Shanks does come out. So any swings he does will definitely defend as long as they're towards characters. And I think for Emu, he's trying to make sure that I have as few cards in hand as possible. Doesn't really swing for life so that I don't get anything else. Here I gave him 2 2Ks. We value that Mihawk restand quite a lot, so does end up finding that Saint Mars, pitches a card, pops our Sanji, leaves 1 done up for an event, and passes. But I forget, we're going first here, so we're not quite set up for the Sanji just yet. Play out the search, trying to find another one. Find Gordon at least, so we have a 2K as an option. Not the worst. Here we go ahead and swing 7 to lead, see if he gives us a life or 2 cards. Or an event, that would be good too. Goes ahead and takes that one. Swing a 5 here. I think we just try to clear out board. Just make it easier to protect our side. We know he has that St. Peter, so those becoming 7K will make that a little bit tougher for us. Here we swing 9. Then And we swing another 9 here. I think in all honesty, what I should have done is just swung 10 and 10, just to make it a little bit harder to defend. Dead Man's Game only lets you protect life. We're at 4 life. He's not likely to swing at us anytime soon, so I think that would have been better off used that way. Finds another Mars, pops another one of our characters, ends up being the Doflamingo blocker here. So bright side of this is only 3 cards in hand, 2 now, and 2 life, so definitely done our job early. We just need to find a way to close it out with the Shanks here. We have 2 bodies on the field. Depending on what he ends up swinging, we'll be able to defend one of these 6k bodies, but now that he's a 6k leader, that does make it a little bit tougher. Ends up swinging 9 into 6. We don't have enough counters, so we go ahead and take that. Still only 2 cards in hand, 2 blockers up. If nothing else, we should be able to clear those out. One of those 2 cards is likely to be the 5 Elders. So just a matter of distributing Dawn. Probably going to swing with that Buenafesta just to get some value out of him, but maybe not just yet. Just trying to figure out the best allocation here. We go ahead and start with a 7, see what he gives us. Gives us one of those blockers, swing 7 again. Gives us a second one. And here I think about swinging 6, but again, he's not likely to swing at face anytime soon. We go ahead and probably attach all 7 here and then swing, bringing him down to 1. Do that. Getting some value from the fighting Buenafesta. We have Dead Man's Game in hand, so once he does play out those blockers, we should be able to rest them and try to close it out here. So he has the event 9k in hand. So most of the other card in hand will be a 2k, so just something to be cognizant of when we try to close out here. So swings 12 into 10. We have just enough counter to defend that. Swing 6 into 0. We end up having to take that. Unfortunately, we'll not be getting any more value out of him. And here the most he can really defend is 11. So with Dead Man's Game, assuming he doesn't find a 2k, we should have lethal. We go ahead and rest both blockers here. So we go ahead and swing 11. This should be a guaranteed hit. And then the 12, not necessarily guaranteed, but more likely than not. And yep, he had a 5 Elders and a 1k in hand, so definitely not enough. And we take it from there. Let's go on to the next one. Okay, so last matchup of the day here, and this one is going to be against Ace, the last of those big 3. If you made it this far, would definitely appreciate it if you liked, subscribed, and if you think the video sucks, just leave a comment down below. Let me know what I could do better here. But regardless, I do appreciate that time. Here we go ahead and have the option to take second from Ace, which is definitely ideal for us now. 1, denying the curve, and 2, letting us play out that 10 cost Shanks on curve. Swings 8 to lead, we go ahead and take that. And we're pretty set up for the next few turns here. We have the Sabo we can play out this turn, and then the Sanji the turn after that, with the Enel being able to cycle cards if we don't find that 10 cost Shanks. So go ahead and do that. And the more we can pressure before he starts playing out those 10 drops, the better here. A lot of smaller pokes, just trying to maintain that pressure. Definitely need to be cognizant of the Roger that could come out later on. But for now, just poking out. Ends up developing a big hand, but we'll work through that. Go ahead and play out the Enel. We do find the 10 cost Shanks, which is great. We end up pitching those limbs. I think at this point they're just going to be way too slow. And we start developing our hand size as well. Swinging with that Sabo. With 3 cards rested, we can draw 1. He ends up pitching one of his 8 cost events. Plays out Jozu. Bounces our Sabo. We give him a 2k with a 6 swing. Swing 7. And we give him a 2k and 1k. Still being aware of that pudding that could come out. Here we go ahead and play out that Shanks on curve. We have Dead Man's Game if we do need to rest his blockers later on. And we have the Restand Mihawk, so we should be able to get some pretty big swings here. And if nothing else, we'll definitely whittle down that hand size. So he gives us 2 cards here. Here, I just want to try to clear out board if we can. Gives us a 2k. And then with that 2k being taken, we end up swinging double 10 to him. He gives us 3 cards and then we pass. So here we're pretty comfortable. He does end up playing that new gate and ends up ripping life, but we have Dead Man's Game, so we should be okay either way. Swing 7. Go ahead and take that one. We get a 2k, which is great. Swings another 8. And I think here we're pretty okay just trying to close out the game the next turn. Do end up having to give up that Dead Man's Game, unfortunately, but do have the 12k, we have the Restand Mihawk, and then we have a bunch of other smaller swings. He only has 6 cards in hand. He's an 8k leader, but go ahead and start off with that 12, see what he gives us. Both of us at 0 life, so this is going to be it one way or another. Ends up just blocking, not trying to defend too much beyond that. Gives us a 1k. Then we give him a 12, and then we'll restand with the Mihawk right after that. But he ends up not having any counter in hand, just a 2k, fully bricked, and we take it from there. So GG's. Okay, so that's it for today's video on Lim. Hopefully this was helpful for you as you try to navigate through OP13. I think this is a leader that can have a lot of success, but you definitely need a little bit of luck to go your way. But against the big 3, you should be able to handle them in theory. Hopefully this video was helpful to you. Let me know what worked, what didn't work. Happy to take that feedback and build from there. This is a pretty new channel, so any comments, any criticisms are definitely welcome. As you watch the video, you probably noticed it was a little bit harder for me to talk, get a little bit quieter, and there's a bit of coughing there. Just getting over an illness, but I wanted to make sure I got this video out as soon as possible. The meta is always changing. This is the list I'm running right now, but like I had mentioned at the start, there's a few cards that could be teched back in. Let me know what you guys think, and again, appreciate the time. Thank you so much. Bye.